Hello, my name is Märt Ridala, and today I'm gonna talk with Thomas Hartnell, and we're gonna talk about AI in software development. So, welcome to listen to us.
Hi.
Today I'm talking with Thomas, and Thomas is Solita's senior software engineer. Thomas has over 15 years of experience in software development, and it has been mostly front end.
I see, yeah. UI stuff.
And but you have also worked with art and design, I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So in your, was it like previous career or
sort of intermingled with current career, I'd say. So bit of UI design, I've also built interactive exhibitions and done stuff with hardware and physical devices and stuff, but always with a technological background, sort of.
I'd say, so you know how to make software architectures, but you can also make it beautiful and pretty.
I'll try, yeah.
For the user. That's something I cannot, I'm really not good at. Maybe architecture, but definitely not design or something. Now, so you have wide experience in software development and systems development. And now we're almost in the beginning of 2025. And of course, the topic of this year has been AI.
Yes.
And in software development. So what's your take now? Is it still a hype, or is it now usable, or what do you think of the AI tools and the whole thing now?
Yeah, I think it's we're kind of over the hype hill, and the hype train is slowing down. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's just a natural part of the process, and the tools are kind of ever evolving. But I think we're still some years away from it being kind of it's figuring itself out, and I don't think it's. I think a lot of the hype won't be lived up to, but some of the stuff will happen over time. But I think the benefit of the hype is that it's brought kind of interest and investment in AI in general, and I think there's been lots of work going on for years in machine learning and other types of AI, not just the hype's been about LLM technology primarily, but I think the hype has probably brought good energy and investment to other types of AI which have been going on maybe even longer, and that will, I think we're quite far yet from seeing how it pans out. I think we're at quite an early stage with it. The LLMs are sort of kind of interesting, but not necessarily delivering some of the promises that were given. But it's finding the use cases for them and figuring out how they integrate with other things is still like a bit of a longer game. And I think that's we won't see that for a while, but work's being done on that. So.
And if we talk about AI and software development, then one part of it is AI in the writing the code part of software development. So there, I mean, ChatGPT can maybe correct your errors, or is it so?
Yeah. It's there's been a lot of tools come out in the coding space, like Claude Dev and obviously GitHub Copilot, and now with GitHub Copilot you can connect to different models and try them to help you with your coding. But I think again it works well in some things and not others, and there's the issue is often this hallucination thing, or basically where the model gives you something that sounds very convincing but actually doesn't work. And I think that this is I'm not sure how easy that's going to be to solve with LLMs, because I think that's part of how they work, is they're predicting kind of the right answer, and they'll say with a lot of confidence this is it, and then the code doesn't run. But I suppose for my own personal usage of it, it's the things around the experience of coding where it's really helpful. So organizing thoughts, bouncing ideas, architectural ideas, giving some structure to a project idea. That's where I see immediate benefits, at least to my own work. I'm still not fully trusting it to just spit out code. I have tried that, and I still try that, and it's definitely over the last even 6 months, the tools have got better at doing that. I think they're already performing quite well at kind of low context stuff, like just fixing inline errors or the auto completion of code lines in VS Code with Copilot is pretty amazing and does give you a big speed boost. But in terms of like being able to see the code base as a whole and really understand the intention there's still a lot of work to be done to get that to a productive level.
So is it so that it works now with a really low level, like one line and check the error here, and then also on the high level where we are talking about defining the tickets or architecture idea exchange?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think at the one end of the scale and the other, it's actually quite great already. And it's the middle where you need it to kind of understand the intention of the code and also to understand the detail and get those things right. It's not, I personally haven't found it that great at that bit, but if you want it to help you complete some lines, or especially good if you're maybe doing a project where you have to switch into another language that you're not so familiar with, say, like in my case, my experience is predominantly front end, but then sometimes I need to work on some back end code. I might not be that familiar with the language. Then it's really great just to get some hints from it there. But yeah, writing tickets, bouncing architectural ideas, or coming up with a project plan, it's really already quite good at that.
And these are also things where, as a human, you can check
exactly.
You notice the errors. But if you have I don't know, 2 screens of code, and there's like one semicolon, not semicolon missing, but it's all total rubbish, then you don't, as a human, understand it.
The errors I see are not so much at the level of like syntactically it will be absolutely fine. It's some kind of almost subtle things in the logic that it hasn't quite delivered on, and then they're actually quite hard things to figure out until they go wrong. But I think there's a lot of work being done in that part of the use case. So I think that will definitely get better as well.
Okay. By the way, which AI tools do you use?
So I've probably quite minimalist. I started trying all of the copilots and all that things, and I've found my sort of setup now is actually to use ChatGPT in isolation in a browser, and in that sense I'm completely in control of the context. Like I know what I'm putting in, and I kind of can cherry pick what I get out of it. So I've stopped using it inline in the code editor, and I'm actually using it more, I suppose, for those high level things like bouncing ideas and structure and maybe some code snippets if I'm not familiar with the language. But I'll always take this sort of editorial approach of bringing in what I need from it. I definitely wouldn't just throw a load of code from it into the code base. So so I'm kind of keeping it sort of a little bit outside of the work, but bringing it in as I need it, and I think mostly using it for the work around coding, so not writing the code, but just organizing the things, figuring out what to do. Something I'm just starting to try is using it for helping to write tests and things like that, which I think it's going to be really useful for.
Okay.
So things that sometimes get a bit left to the end, or they're a bit boring to do, is good at that, boilerplate stuff. Certainly with a lot of the front end code, there's a lot of boilerplate often you have to write, so having it do some of that work is really useful. So you can concentrate on the kind of tricky part, or
so finally AI is taking the boring stuff from humans and we can do the or
yeah, it's starting to, I think. Yeah.
And but do you see also that this AI does it bring changes to the software development process in itself? I mean, Agile, is it still? I just listened to the podcast where our expert said that how do you work if the sprint is done in 15 minutes? Or everything is done because thanks to AI. But how do you see? Is it already changing the process, or should we change?
I'm not seeing it in the teams I'm working in that it's immediately changed the process. I know people are using it kind of on a personal level to help with their work. So I think there's some definite sort of speed improvements to like iterating ideas and things. But as a team working together, I think that's a kind of space that needs more exploration. I know there's this work with Collab AI, kind of getting multiple people to almost do like pair programming, but with the AI there as well. And I think that's really interesting.
And Collab is something Solita is testing out now with different customers and customer pros. It's a really interesting thing that.
I think that's that's one of the most interesting things about these new tools is ChatGPT has come along and been kind of first out the gate in a way of defining how we use these things. And they've got this chat-based interface that's a bit like kind of WhatsApp or something that but that's just the first pass. And I think there's lots of room for exploring how we work with the tools and what the interface looks like. And especially you talk about very domain specific stuff like programming or how a programming team works. There's a lot of scope for different solutions of how that AI can integrate with the team, beyond just plugins to the tools. And every software company is bringing their AI solution into the tooling, but I think there will be kind of meta tools that use AI to help a team to be more productive.
Okay, so it is beginning to be off the hype cycle now, etc. And you have been now working for half a year or a little bit more in Solita's AI team. So what's like your experience and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, it's been really interesting, especially working with experts in the models and in the retrieval augmented generation stuff. So it's about combining some more kind of existing technologies in search and information retrieval with the LLM to improve the quality of the output for that. So the most interesting thing for me has been learning from the other team members, really, and also being able to see it maybe from a bit more of a user experience perspective or front end perspective. Like how do we operate these tools and what kind of interfaces do we need to use them? And it's exciting because it's like a novel. So it's a new kind of paradigm in a way. Like there's not a lot of pre-existing ways of interacting with these things. And AI or the LLMs are still, and probably will always be because of their nature, like a bit of a black box. So you sort of send stuff in and you get stuff out, but the actual flow that goes on inside that, it's quite opaque. We don't really know. So a lot of the work is about building frameworks and control systems and kind of task-oriented frameworks around the LLM, so you can make the most of it. So,
how far are we now from the point where we can say that LLM always is correct? Like it always says 1 + 1 is 2, never like it's about 2 or something like.
Yeah, I'm not sure if, from my understanding, that's not going to be possible just due to the way they work. I think that's caveat to that. I mean, that I would say that's not possible just out of the box, but if there will need to be kind of tooling around it to ensure the quality of the outcomes. So actually how the model works internally, or at least my understanding of it, is that it's always, LLMs are like a prediction engine, so you can't say with 100% certainty that it's not going to hallucinate something or give you a quite convincing but wrong answer. And I think with the help of other, maybe more traditional technologies and software patterns around that, you can start to make it more robust.
So can we say that use AI in situations where you are able to check if it's correct or not? I mean, if it checks your one line of code, then well, it either works or not. Or if it's a description of a project, then you can also read it as a human being and understand.
I think at least for now, there always needs to be this editorial aspect. But I think that's one of the kind of nice things about it is that I don't believe it will ever take away the need for humans and creativity and to have the intention of the work and to be kind of in charge of the outcome, but using it to kind of as a sort of superpower in the process, but not maybe not a superpower, but a speed boost at least.
Okay, but then we have a last question. So we of course also in Solita receive a lot of applications from different future engineers, and so what's your advice to young people? Say if you would be 18 years now and you have to choose where to go to study and you want to do systems or software development, then how do you take into account AI, and is it safe to go to learn machine learning or software development, or what's your view on this?
I would say there's different paths, but I think if you're really interested in software development so there's different ways of looking at it. So there's software as a means to an end, like you need software to achieve this thing, and if that's your feeling, then find your end. Like what's really interesting to you. Not purely software development, but what's the domain? Maybe it's like green energy, or there are lots of exciting industries right now, sort of electric mobility, automated sort of industrial stuff. I'd say you're going to be competing, whether you study software or not, you're going to be at least competing with lots of people that have an understanding of software development, even if they learn from YouTube or self-study or whatever. So I think it's maybe my advice would be pick a domain that you're interested in and then figure out how to integrate software development into that, if that makes sense. So say you're interested in green energy, you can always learn software development. I suppose that's what I'm thinking. So if you're interested in software development, combine it with something else that would be a kind of industry to apply it to. Like if you find the application, I think that would be my advice. And if you're interested in software development as a thing, then there's obviously like machine learning, very interesting topics in there. I'm a bit biased because I don't come from a traditional computer science training. I'm kind of self-taught, so I think, and I've seen friends struggle a bit with doing this kind of academic angle on software engineering, and then come into the market, and the market's quite different to what it's rare, I think, in that you can apply all of those things into the way things are coded these days. So I think sort of pick your angle. I always think starting with some hardware is really good, because hardware is always going to be around, and it teaches you about working with restraints like low memory and things like that. I think that's also going to be another big thing in the future, is sustainability in software development and how to reduce the load on servers. We're already seeing that in AI because they have a huge sort of environmental impact from the amount of resources they use to process the at least for the training of the models and then running the models. So I think that's if you go in at the basics and learn how to code very efficiently, that's always going to be useful. And I think there's languages that are good. I would probably learn Rust now if I was starting again, something like that, and just learning the core of the tools. So if you're going to if you're interested in front end and web development, of course you probably need to learn some frameworks like React, but also just really understand the platform that you're on, understand how a web page works, how CSS works, how the DOM works, and things like that. Sort of get to the fundamentals. And I think a bit of the risk with AI tools is they kind of
change very fast.
Yeah, and they might kind of seemingly cut out some learning, but if you have that fundamental understanding of how the system you're working with works, you can adapt easily to framework changes. Or I've worked in JavaScript for 15 years, and there's been tons of things that no longer we don't use anymore. But if you understand the kind of fundamentals of how which haven't changed, like how a web page gets to the browser and stuff like that, it really hasn't changed in 20 years that much. You can kind of roll with the punches, and I think that's
most of many basic stuff in IT has been actually the same as in 20, 30 years. So understanding that also. Processor is still a processor.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's where the hardware thing comes in. Get an Arduino or Raspberry Pi or something, play with that. It's a really fun way to learn. I think project-based learning is better than just pure theoretical learning. So just come up with a project. The AI tools are great for that already. Throw a project in, get a spec, start sort of figuring out how to build that. It's always, and I think in terms of employment, it's always great if you can show projects you worked on, whether or not they were commercial, even if they're side projects or just hobby projects.
Okay, well, thank you, Thomas.
Thanks.
And thank you to our viewers, and see you next time.